संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So as you know, we'll be discussing what is the concept of this word which we know very well. From the youth, all the Indians know this word. So when we used to be naughty, our mothers would say, "Oh, because of you, my prana will go out." Something like that. But the concept may not be very clear because it is not something imaginary. It is a very real entity, and in Vedanta it plays a very important part. So we have to know what exactly the nature of prana is. It requires today's discussion requires a little prior knowledge. For example, a slight idea of what is the subtle body. I will try to just recapitulate a little. So, first thing is the concept of prana is central in Vedanta as well as other schools of Indian philosophy like Sankhya, Yoga, etc. So, in English, the term is often loosely translated as life force or vital breath. But as we have seen, it is not possible to actually correctly translate these terms. They have so many connotations and they are used in various ways in our scriptures. Sometimes prana is also used synonymously with Brahman. So you have to know exactly what it means. So Vedantic thought integrates both physiological and metaphysical dimensions of prana. Metaphysical is that which is not seen by our senses, soul, God, all these things. So as we know, each word in Sanskrit is derived from a root. So prana is actually, how is it derived? Pra plus ana. Ana means breathe. So this word, if you see the literal translation, it will mean that which breathes forth or vital force. So primarily we can say, if you have to say in English, it refers to the life energy that pervades living beings and animates our minds and bodies. So just a purview of what the Upanishads say about prana so that we can have a little idea. According to Upanishads, prana is the inner power that sustains life. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it is said, Prano vai satyam. Prana is indeed the truth. All other faculties, speech, sight, mind also depend on prana. So prano vai satyam. Chandogya Upanishad say, prano brahmeti vyajanat. Know prana as Brahman. So here you see prana is equated with Brahman, the supreme reality, showing that prana is not merely physiological but metaphysical also. That is referring to an idea or doctrine outside human sense perception. So prana can be individual as well as cosmic. It can be viewed as functioning in living individuals. In each of us, prana is functioning. Otherwise, only our bodies would be there now. But also it sustains the cosmic order. So the individual prana is the life principle that distinguishes the animate from the inanimate. It has a cosmic counterpart. The cosmic prana refers not to individual breath or vitality, but to the universal force that operates throughout the cosmos. So it is just like something like tree and a forest. Tree is the individual aspect, forest is the cosmic aspect. So the cosmic prana can be said to be the universal potent energy that holds the living as well as the non-living as a complex, coordinated whole. While it is all pervading as potential energy, its manifestation differs according to the medium. Example, just as electricity flows differently in different devices, it flows equally, but it is manifested in the fan, it is manifested as physical motion, in the light, it is manifested as other kinds. So, prana also manifests diversely in different forms. For example, in the wind, it is the movement. In the plants, it is the photosynthesis. In us, it is conscious breathing and thought. It is also there in the inanimate things, even in rocks. So it manifests as inertia in rocks, any non-living thing. So it is there in a dormant way, very subtle way, like the tree is in a seed, yet to be manifested properly. So prana is manifest as the life principle only in the animate things. In the inanimate things, that has not been manifested yet. That is the thing. So today we will discuss the individual prana, that is the life principle that animates the psychophysical structure of an organism. So first point, prana, the vital principle, is distinct from both the physical and the psychical factors in an individual. It is not something physical, nor is it mental. So this statement asserts that prana is not the same as the physical body. This is the physical body which we call the sthula sharira. It is made up of gross matter. Organs are there, hand, feet, etc. So prana is not the same as this physical body. Secondly, it is also not the same as the mind. The mind, those who are attending regularly, they know the mind is known as the antakarana, the inner instrument. It includes manas, buddhi, ahankar and chitta. The antakarana includes all these things. So prana is neither the physical body nor the mind. So what is it? It is a third distinct principle functioning between the physical and the mental level layers of a being. It is the life principle. But although it is not the body or the mind, it is very vital. We know why it is vital. It is of its own kind. It vivifies the physical body, but it is not derived from the body, nor is it dependent on the body. How do we know it is not dependent? Because when we pass away, the body will be there, the prana will leave. So this is the first thing. It is not the physical body, not the mind. What is the second point? The prana is a part of something. Prana and other things make up something. What is that? It is a part of the subtle body, which is called the Sukshma Sharira. So our scriptures say that there are three types of bodies in all of us. First is this physical body. After death, it will be destroyed, it will be burnt or buried or whatever. But something is there which does not die. That something leaves the body, physical body, and takes up another body. That is called the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body. So Prana is a part of that. First, we know the three bodies. Gross body is called the Sthula, subtle is called the Sukshma, causal is called the Karana. Prana belongs to the Sukshma Sharira. Other things are also there in the Sukshma Sharira. Mind, intellect, ego, the Indriyas. So Shankaracharya says in his commentary on the Taittiriya Upanishad, Prana is not the Atman, of course, it is not the Atman, but it is a product of ignorance associated with the subtle body. So we know that the subtle body endures even after the physical body drops and disintegrates. So subtle body has many various things we have just seen, mind, intellect, all these things. So they form the subtle body, but they are distinct from one another. Prana is distinct from the mind. They perform their respective functions only by the power of one thing. Everything happens by the power of only one thing. What? Atman. So the consciousness which is within us, the self is conscious. That consciousness is, as it were, radiating. That is why the self is called luminous self. So this consciousness holds everything together. That is the power behind everything. So like a mistress of the house, she will tell everybody, no, you cannot go your own ways. All the family members have to stay together and function together, cooperate together. Of course, those days are gone, but previously that was the case. So all these things, prana, mind, intellect, ego, body, whatever you say, all these things, consciousness is not intrinsic in them. Like the sun is giving light to earth, moon, but we don't have a light of our own. Similarly, consciousness only belongs to the Atman. So, this brings us to the second point. What? The mainspring of a living organism is only one. The self-intelligent, conscious Atman, which is translated as soul in English generally, but we will call it Atman only. So, what does the Vedas say? Vedas say that the self-luminous Atman is the sole spiritual entity. Everything else belongs to the realm of matter. That matter can be gross or fine, but it will be matter. So it will be devoid of intrinsic consciousness. If it has consciousness, it will be reflected consciousness. So we say that Sankhya divides this as Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is the material nature. So from the grossest earth to the cosmic mind, there are degrees of subtlety. Gross earth is absolutely sthula. Then as we ascend upwards, it becomes subtler, subtler, subtler. When it reaches the cosmic mind, it is the subtlest. So all this includes the world of phenomena. These are all matter. All these things are called jada. Jada means inert. None of them is self-intelligent. None of them has consciousness as its essence. If the Atman were not to be there, all these things, they will be like just woods or rocks or stones. They function only by one power. For example, if the electricity was cut off from the main city, all these would stop. Fans would stop, light would stop, air conditioner would stop, heating would stop, everything would stop. Power is only there. So here also, without being endowed with the light of the Atman, none of the organs, nor the mind, nor prana can function. That is why in the Upanishads, Atman is called what? Pranasya prana. The prana of prana. Beautiful way of expression. Chakshusha chakshu, the eye of the eye. Shrotrasya shrotram, the ear of the ear. Manaso ye mano, the mind of the mind. In fact, the organs, the mind and the prana are like so many attendants of the Atman, carrying out specific functions. So being closely allied with the self, the master, prana stays in the physical body. Now this is the thing to know. Generally, what do we think? That when prana goes, everything goes. Prana is the first to leave. No. Prana stays till the self stays. When we die, first the self leaves the body, individual self. And prana is the servant. When the master leaves, the servant has to leave. So it is said in the Upanishads, tam utkramantam, when it goes away, it means what? Self. Prana anutkramanti, prana also goes. Pranam anutkramantam, sarve prana anutkramanti. So when prana departs, all others, organs, mind, all of them go. Nobody stays. The master goes, all of them goes. So, although material by nature, the organs, the mind and prana belong to a very fine order of matter. We cannot see them like we see the physical body. The microscope, if you bring it, cannot see prana. So, they arise from the sattva and rajas aspect of the subtle elements. Elements, 5 elements are there. Earth, water, fire, etc. So the one is gross. All these are gross elements combined. But there is a subtle version also. So all these entities, mind, prana, they are made up of the subtle part of this matter. So we cannot see them. Now we have seen that prana is functioning only why? Because the light of the Atman is there. But the prana receives that light of the Atman through something. Through what? Through the mind. Now comes a very important statement showing us the difference between the living and the non-living. So this may seem very ordinary. We all know what is living. We all know what is non-living. So what is there to tell? But if we go deeper, it is not so apparent what is the difference between the living and the non-living. First, if we are told to enumerate the differences, we will be at a loss. All we can say is that, living being moves, non-living do not move, like that. But that is not pointing out the exact thing. So 2 points are there which mark the difference between living and the non-living. First, purposiveness. Purpose we all know. Purposiveness. This is implicit in livingness. We will see all these terms. Wherever there is livingness, there is purposiveness. It is there only because of this light of the Atman. So purposiveness means the quality of having a purpose, a goal, an end, a direction. So all of you started from your homes thinking what? We are going to the society. Purpose was there. Okay, which direction to take? This direction to take. So in us, there is a purposiveness. And livingness refers to the quality of being alive. We all have livingness, otherwise we would be dead. So, what does this mean? Purposiveness is implicit in livingness. This means that wherever there is life, however simple or undeveloped, like protoplasm, etc., it is very undeveloped. In human beings, it is most developed. But we all are living. So, wherever there is life, there is some degree of direction, purpose, intention, and striving. Even if an ant is there, if you try to kill a fly, it will immediately go in another direction. No? So it has a purpose. What? I have to save myself. So this proves what? This proves that life is not a merely mechanical process. Life indicates self-preservation. Even the smallest ant wants to preserve its life. Growth. Life means growth. Reproduction or expression. This is the first point. Point number 2. An innate plan of self-development and self-preservation is noticed in all living beings. Self-preservation, first, I have to preserve myself. Second, I have to develop myself. So, this means what? This refers to the inherent intelligence or tendency within life to first grow and evolve. Second is protect oneself. Third is adapt to the environment. In cold weather, go and wear a jacket. So we are adapting to the environment, protecting ourselves. And of course, all of us want to grow physically, mentally. So all this is happening. And in Vedanta, this is due to the presence of only one. Livingness is due to the presence of only one thing, the Atman. The reflected consciousness of the Atman in the individual causes the body and Prāṇa to function in an organized way. They cannot do anything they like. They know that the master is there. So many complex operations going on in our body every second. Heart is beating, blood is circulating, cells are dying, cells are manufactured, mind is always active, kidneys are functioning, liver is functioning. How is it possible? It's a world of its own. So without some head, organizer, it is not possible. So the reflected consciousness of the Atman makes this possible. Are you feeling hot, everybody? AC is on, but if you want, you can put that fan on also. So, on these 2 points, we can see that the behavior of a living being is characteristically different from a machine. Biological functions which are going on in the body are not mechanical processes. Biological functions differ from physical functions also. So mechanical process we know. Process means what? Process is interaction of inert matter. So in mechanical process, there is no aim, no choice. A ball is rolling down the hill. What choice does the ball have? Wherever the wheel takes, it will go there. Huh? A machine is being operated. Machine has no choice. The operator will decide. So, prana, the way of prana is not the way of the physical body nor the way of the mind. So we have discussed various things. We have discussed the Atman, which is at the behind everything. We have discussed the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. We have discussed the mind, and we have discussed the prana. So how are all these related? You have to have an idea. So wonderful analogy is given in our scriptures, and they clarify everything in such a wonderful way. They explain in such a wonderful way. So they say that to understand the relationship, imagine a lamp. Lamp has four things. First is the body of the lamp. Secondly, there is the wick of the lamp. Then the flame of the lamp. And lastly, the oil. So body of the lamp can be compared to our physical body. And the self is the flame. That alone is giving light, nothing else is giving light. What is absorbing that light, that power? The mind. So mind is called the wick. But from where does the power come? Fuel. That is the prana. So the oil is the prana. Wonderful example. But of course, it is not 100% true, because flame here is dependent on the wick, but the Atman is dependent on nothing. But just to make us understand. So, it is prana that animates the body in the waking, dream, and also dreamless sleep. This you have to understand. This is a very fascinating thing. Waking, dream, as well as dreamless sleep. So, Vinodha, you can ask them to come here.
Come here.
You can please come here in front. Sumitji, you can sit here. Please come here. Anybody else needs a seat? If he's there, it's okay. As long as he can sit, that's okay. So, we have three states. First is waking, dream, and third state is we don't even dream. These are called the waking, Jagrata Avastha. Dream is called Swapna Avastha, and dreamless sleep is called Sushupti Avastha. So, we have seen that prana is composed of very subtle matter. Because it is so subtle, prana has a tendency to expand. It fills the entire psychophysical system. It pervades the entire physical body. Prana is even subtler than the nerves. Prana is operating on the nervous system, the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system also. Prana is responsible for the functions of the autonomic system, which is not controlled by will, digestion of food, all these things. And another thing, have you ever thought that how the nails and the hair, the bones, here nervous system does not reach. So how are they growing? How does the nail grow? Because the prana is there also, present there also, where the nervous system cannot reach. So Because it is vitality, prana means vitality, life force. Because of the presence of prana, all these things grow. So prana vitalizes the whole body. There is not a single portion of the body in which prana is not permeating. So Upanishads say, Prano hiva anganam rasa. Rasa means essence. Anga means all the members of the body. Prana is the essence. So, from whichever member prana departs, it dies, it withers, it cannot stay. If prana goes away from one nail, that nail will die. That is the thing. So, prana is responsible for all the physiological functions. None of the 10 organs, the mind animates the body. They have their own specific functions, mind, etc., thinking, etc. But none of them animate the body. For example, organs, eye, ear, nose, etc. A person may become deaf. He may lose the power of hearing. He may lose the power of smell, as in COVID, many of us lost the power of smell. He may lose the power of vision. But he will not lose his life. Is it not? He can continue to live. Also, mental powers. Mental powers may be impaired. But just because mental powers are impaired, it does not necessarily mean that the vitality is impaired. Even very feeble-minded people, very dumb people, their mental power is not much, but they may have the vitality. They may run for 10 kilometers, all these things. So, in animals and plants, we know that mental power is very little, but they are growing, they are functioning. So, this indicates that prana is separate from the mind, as it is separate from the physical body. But prana is subordinate to the Atman. We have seen that. And the thing to note is that even in deep sleep what happens? See, the 3 stages are like this. When we are awake, all the karma indriyas, hand, feet, etc., everything is working. Mind is of course working. When we go to sleep, when we dream, one part is shut down. Hand, feet, etc., they are not working. But the mind is working. Mind is creating this world. But in dreamless sleep, the mind also ceases to function. But we don't die. Why? All the vital processes continue. The lungs continue. The heart continues to beat. Because the prana is functioning. The act of digestion continues. So all these movements continue. Why? Only because the prana is still functioning. That is the thing. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says about this, the immortal radiant self, when everything goes to rest in deep sleep, it says the immortal radiant self is the lone wanderer. Like at night what happens? Everybody in the house is asleep. Suppose a ghost enters. So he will see, I am the lone wanderer. I am moving from one room to another. Nobody is there. So when everything goes to rest, the self is wandering. Wondering, why is it telling the lone wanderer? Because self is independent of anything. Like ghost is independent of anybody living in that house, is it not? It can do whatever it likes. Similarly here. And the Prashna Upanishad says, Prāṇa agnaya eva etasmin pure jagrati. Pure means city. City. Body is compared to a city. So, when all the organs sleep, what keeps awake? Prana. in this gate, in this city with 9 gates. So, even the prana is not, even then in deep sleep, the prana is not disassociated from the mind or the Atman. It is in contact with both. Atman gives the light, light comes to the mind gives the light to the prana. So that chain is unbroken. And we know that prana, the same prana is called by 5 names according to the function. So what are the 5 names? Anybody?
Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana.
Yeah. So you are full of prana, all you, I can tell you. But we should know that prana is only one. It is called by different names so that we know the functions. Like the same person in the house is the father, in the office he is the officer, in the school he may be a teacher, he is the same person. But the names tell us what his function is. Okay? So the same life principle or prana has different names according to 5 different functions. Prana, Apana, Samana, Vyana and Udana. So now prana, when we mention this with along these 4, then prana signifies a particular function. But in general, when we mention, then prana includes all 5. When we say prana, udana, vyana, samana, then we are distinguishing the function of prana itself as a subordinate sort of, divided sort of. But we say prana who as a whole, that includes all the 5 functions. So when we say prana, vyana, udana, vyana, samana, then the prana is the life principle operative in the lungs and heart. Prana is responsible for our respiration, inhalation, exhalation, and it tends to move upward to the mouth and nostrils. It is the principal vital force. Among all these 5, that prana is the principle, that is called mukhya prana. When that principal force functions, all the other 4 also function. Apana functions below the heart. Samana is located in the stomach. It digests and assimilates what we eat and drink. Vyana is also called the all-pervading one. Vyapti. So Vyana is the all-pervading one. Means it pervades the whole body and operates on the nerves. So prana is going up, apana is going down. So they have a junction, a nexus. So this vyana regulates prana and apana at their nexus. And this vyana is responsible for the utterance of speech. And when we do something which great effort is needed, lifting very heavy things, jumping over some fence or something, then actually vyana is operating. So vyana is called because it exists all over the body. How does it travel? Through the nadis. They extend from the heart in all directions, like the heat rays from the sun. All these nerves are there. And vyana functions specially in the joints. So joint pain means something is wrong with the vyana. Shoulders and the vital parts. Udana functions upward from the sole of the feet to the head. Udana promotes growth. So when we are sitting in a chair and we want to get up, we have to call udana. And since it is functioning upward, when we die, it will help the soul in passing out of the body. And Udana maintains heat of the body. When the Udana will leave, the body becomes cold. So, it is to be noted that Prana, Apana and Samana are responsible for the functions of the autonomic nervous system, such as the movement of the lungs, beating of the heart, etc. And Vyana and Udana are associated with the cerebrospinal system. So though they operate on this physical body, we have already seen that all these pranas, actually prana is only one, they belong to the subtle body. So residing on a higher sphere, they are operating on the gross body. Like that. So like the officer in his store, sitting very high up, but he will direct all the workers. Something like that. So prana is a basic principle in the psychophysical system. It is not a product of any combination. So Upanishads distinguish prana from the 5 material elements, the 10 organs, and also the mind. It says, from this, the Supreme Self, the Atman, originates prana, originates the mind, originate all the organs and all the elements, akasha, fire, water, earth, etc. But prana does not originate from the material constituents of the body. This we have to know. It is not a combination that body and mind come together, they join and prana is manufactured. No. It is not the result of any process. It is a separate principle. So these next lines, each line is very important, which I will just read. So please pay attention to each of these sentences. First, prana is a principle. It is an original determining factor in the psychophysical system of a living being. Prana cannot be said to be physical or psychical or biophysical or psychophysical. It is a type in itself. It is completely separate from all this. How? It is vital. It can be conceived as vivifying, substantive energy. It is an energy. So the activities, each of us are active, mentally, physically. Activities of each living being, our self-development, self-preservation, all these cannot be explained without the concept of prana. These cannot be explained without postulating what? A subtle, stable, dynamic, animating principle. Again I repeat, subtle is very subtle, you cannot see the prana. Stable, it is stable because without it nothing will function. Dynamic, because that is what is animating us. Animating principle that pervades the entire system. It is vitalizing all its parts. And third, it is integrating them into a self-sustaining, self-regenerating, complex whole. So this is a fantastic analysis, absolutely brilliant. This is, I am just quoting from Swami Satprakashananda. He was the founder of our St. Louis Vedanta Society, and his brain was something else, not an ordinary brain, absolutely brilliant. So the activities of a living being, its ways of self-development, self-preservation, reproduction cannot be explained without prana. This means what? Prana must be distinct from the material components of the body, and it has to be distinct from the mind also. So prana is unique, but this does not mean it is mysterious. Its presence is corroborated by facts. What facts? The life history of any animate being, the record of its birth, growth, decay and death. It is not like a self-moving machine, is it not? Our activities are not like machines. So, they are far more significant than the involuntary operations of a machine. No machine is born. No machine grows. Nor does it decay. Okay. So, the modern theory of biogenesis, that all life must come from pre-existing life, also points to the uniqueness of life as a distinct generation. So the great chemist Louis Pasteur has said, so far as any biological doctrine can be said to be firmly established, if any biological doctrine is firmly established, it is this, that all living beings have to be the product of living beings. Dead matter cannot give birth to living beings. So, another wonderful thing which the Swami says, I was simply stunned when I read it. It was a revelation. First, this means what? It is life. There is something known as life, which prana is, which makes all that is living alive. Now he says a fantastic thing. Generally what we think, that because we are breathing, we are living. That is what we think, Because we breathe, we live. No. We do not live because we breathe, but we breathe because we live. First is life. So, we breathe because we live. And we know that sometimes some yogis, they can also live without breathing, for some time at least. Even in Sri Ramakrishna's life we have seen that doctor, he had put his hand near the nostril when he was in Samadhi. He could not feel any breath. He had stopped breathing. But he was alive. So, we breathe because we live. Again, we live something, what do we think? We are living because we are eating. No. We are eating because we are living. These are absolutely fantastic insights. We can live a number of days without food, but we cannot eat a single morsel of food without living. You cannot eat without living. You can live without eating, at least for some time. It's a brilliant year. So, in fact, it is the prana that consumes food to sustain life itself, and of course all the organs. Therefore it is said, Atha Atmane Annadyam Agayat Tasmat Yat Annena Annamatti Tena Eta Tripyanti. Tripyanti means satisfied. So whatever food is eaten by prana alone. Whatever food one eats through prana satisfies all the organs. So, it's a wonderful insight. And naturally, we have seen that only life can beget life. A living thing cannot result from the combination of material forces or ingredients or whatever. So, this much about the livingness which prana grants us. But, coming back to the before ending, emphasizing the main point. Livingness is not identical with consciousness. Prana is not self-aware. In our inmost depths, there is the self, Atman, which is of the nature of consciousness. Because of the Atman only, we are self-aware. The luminous self is the only thing which is self-conscious. It is the only thing which is independent. It requires no proof. This is why each person is sure of his own existence first. Being associated with the luminous self, the prana as well as the mind received that radiance of consciousness. So, the inner controller, consisting of the luminous self, the mind, the vital principle, and the 10 organs in the subtle form, is the living being, the jiva. These are whole being. First, the self. Then, self is giving the power to the mind, the prana, the organs. So, physical body is just a vehicle, just like a room or something, or the car. It is compared to a chariot in the Upanishads. So, although the physical garb may vary, each of us look differently. As the evolution is, physical garb changes. But the indwelling jiva remains identical. So this is just a vehicle for the jiva's conveyance. How will it travel? It needs a chariot or something. So the question is raised in the Kena Upanishad. At whose command does the prana function? And the answer is given, being directed by the luminous Atman. Prana is also not the self. Prana is also created. It is not the eternal self. So where does it stand? The Upanishads say, Pranastu madhyagata. It is madhya. It is the central supporting force. It is the bridge between matter and consciousness. It is transmitting life, so to say, from the Atman to this body. Shankaracharya says, wonderful language, Yatha Deepa Prakasho Deepa Sannidhanena Eva Sambhavati Tatha Atma Sannidhanena Pranadinam Pravritti. Just as a lamp illumines only when it is present. If the lamp is in another room, it cannot illumine another room. So lamp illumines only when it is present. So also the activity of prana, etc. occurs only due to the presence of the self. So, we live neither by prana nor apana, but we live by something else on which both these rest. The immortal self is the sole support of the prana, the mind and the organs. It integrates them and correlates their functions. So it is the radiance of the luminous self that enables these to function. As the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, people do not see the Atman, but when it performs the function of living, it is called prana. When it speaks, that same Atman is the organ of speech. When it sees, it is the eyes. When it hears, it is the ear. So to conclude the points, first, prana is a vital principle. It is distinct both from the physical body as well as the mind. Second, it is a part of the subtle body or the Sukshma Sharira. Third, it depends upon the Atman for consciousness. And what is its medium of expression? This body. It expresses through the activities of this body. Then it neither knows nor acts deliberately because it is not conscious. It is just functioning under the influence of some other power. What is that? Our own karma. So if we have done something which will give us a stomach ache, then the prana will function in such a way that we will have a stomach ache. So it is also under the law of karma. So, but behind all these stands the luminous self. It is responsible for all the psychological, biological and physiological processes in an individual. It is the real, what we call the real, only reality in us and the sole agent. So we conclude with the statement of this Upanishad, Kena Upanishad. What is the self? Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manoyat Vacho Havacham Sau Pranasya Prana Chakshushas Chakshur Atimuchya Dhira Pretya Asmat Lokat Amrita Bhavanti. He is the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the speech of the organ of speech, the life of the life, that the pranasya prana, life of life, and the eye of the eye. The wise, giving up identification with the non-self and going beyond this world, become Amrita, means become immortal. Till we are identified with these things, we can never be immortal. Till we think we are the body, when the body will die, we think we will die. So the wise people, they give up this identification. They become detached. They give up this world. So then there is nothing which can cause their death. Once you realize you are the self, nothing can affect you. So it says, then they become immortal. So let's stop here today. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri